this unifies us, all our doctrinal differences, all our political differences, all that is just going to be gone. And the unifying factor is we're all going to be just looking at Jesus face to face, and we're just going to be worshiping Him for all eternity. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Okay, well, we're about to go get some breakfast. We have a little different speaking arrangement today. We have a couple guys that are going to share their testimonies, and we have a serving opportunity that we want to share with you all too. Depending on the time, I might look around and ask if anyone has like a 1 or 2 minute little testimony. The Bible says when we come together, each of us has a psalm or a hymn or a word of encouragement or something. So we're the body of Christ, and each one of you is just as indispensable as anyone else. So if you have a short little 1 minute, we're cruising on that while we eat. And maybe we'll share that at the end. So let's pray. Who wants to pray for our breakfast? Who wants to say grace? Okay, this is Owen, also known as Odog. Thank you, Owen.
All right, everyone, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you that we can come together as a group of men and fellowship with one another. God, we pray that you be present and that you just open our hearts and eyes to new things that you have in store for us today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Lord. Okay, quick icebreaker question for your table. Give you something to talk about. You don't have to talk about this, of course, but if you don't have anything to discuss, here's the question. Does faith have any feelings?
Feelings?
Think about that. Now, we might ask you that. Does faith have any feelings? Okay? And we have a grand prize for whoever can eat the most pancakes this morning. Anybody know what it is? You get all the leftover pancakes. Go get some food. We're going to shift into our sharing time. One of the things about men's breakfast that we feel like is on God's heart is it would be really great if we could get to know each other at a little deeper level than just seeing each other on Sunday mornings. So this is a good venue for it. It's a lot smaller crowd. And one of the ways we're going to go about that is just let you guys share who you are a little bit, give a short testimony. So if you ever want to do that, just grab me and we'll put you in the queue and you can give a testimony. We're going to have our brother Jerry Larson come on up right now. He's going to share the first one. He's been through some hard, difficult times that he's going to share. And then Ben's going to share a little bit of kind of a more uplift, like an upside of life kind of thing. But I read this morning a scripture that said that God will never forget the afflicted. God will never forget the afflicted. So if you are in a season of hard times, know that God will never, ever, ever forget you or your affliction, and He has a way to bring us out. Amen? So with that, would you welcome Jerry Larson to come and pray for us?
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, good morning, fellas. We're good to see a lot of people here that I recognize. I'm a member of a tribe that's led by our weekly Bible study leader, Dave Chan. Excuse me, a number of our tribe are here. So if I start laughing, it's because I'm getting this gestures from the audience.
Jerry, speak to the microphone.
I'm sorry. I made a few notes. As unaccustomed as I am to doing this, so I'll make sure I don't forget something. I know that all of you here have a story, and we've heard many stories here over the last 3 or 4 months that I've been a part of the group, and we have a lot of strong stories, so we're to share. There's stories of men who have led lives of strength. They're like the mighty men of David. Our society raises us to be, quote, mighty men, unquote. And if you're masculine, then you're acceptable. And in many cases, that's how we're raised. Objective of being competitive. I succumbed to that same drive, and I was successful because I was outspoken and competitive, and sometimes we always thought that was necessary. So we had a lot of accomplishments and successes. For me, suddenly came a cough, and the cough led to a doctor visit, tests, scans. Doctor called me into the office after a lot of tests and scans and turned the lights off and turned on his screen of his monitor. And there was a bright, sharp, small pin light in the middle of the screen. And he says to me, "That's your cancer." So I looked at that. And you know, the word cancer is a scary subject. It's a killer, and we know many instances that it is a killer. Surgery. We read a lot about hospitals have incidents of failures, infection. A lot of things that we have to look forward to. And all of a sudden I was out of control. I couldn't control this issue. And so I did pray, and you pray to, not for yourself, but you pray for the Lord to look at the hands and guide the hands of the people that you have to see and that you have to depend upon, surgeons and oncologists and various and sundry doctors. Then my sister called me, and she referenced a Bible verse that really was heavy. It's James 5:13 and 14. And I think maybe many of you have heard this, but it said if you have troubles, if you have problems, if you're ill, if you're sick, call on the elders of your church. Go see the elders of your church. And I know Jay's experienced this. And I did that, and that was an incredible relief. It gave me the strength back to do what I needed to do, which was to pray for the success of those that were taking care of my surgery. Surgery today for cancer is a little bit different. It's not quite the cut you down the center and spread you wide open. It's laparoscopic surgery. So that's a real step forward. They go in between the rib cage and with long cables that have little knives and scissors and TV cameras at the end. So they don't really separate you from your body like they used to. My prayers at that point were of gratitude. It's also a realization that, I remember Jesus said, "You can't do anything without me." So my prayers were calling to Him to guide those doctors, oncologists, and surgeons for me. I was not in charge at all, which, as I mentioned, was the realization. I was used to being in charge. That was my duty, to make sure that I just didn't miss an appointment. I took a couple of Bible verses to close with that really helped as I went through. And I'd like to read them to you. Some of them are prayers and some of them are Bible verses. That's just 3 or 4 here. Again, dealing with being mighty, but being mighty in a different way. And my mighty indeed grew up and matured. Lord, make me so mighty in seeing and mighty in savoring the promise of your sovereign grace, that in all my sorrows I might never cease to sing your praise. Lord, make me so mighty against the deadly undertow of self-reliance, that I'm never ashamed to trust your arm like a child with its father in every breaking wave. Lord, make me so mighty against the powers of self-justification that I never lose the humility to repent and to weep for my sin. Lord, make me mighty with happy thoughts of child and wife, to tear out my eye lest I betray their trust and lose the purity that sees my God. Lord, make me mighty with ruthless courage to cut off my hand at every trace of greed, that I may be content with what I have. And finally, Lord, make me so mighty, unyielding to the enticements of selfishness, that from my heart kindness forever flows. I have a reference for those if you would like, but they sure did help me. Thank you.
So thank you, Gary. That was absolutely beautiful. When we go through the dark times, it can feel kind of lonely. And it can be very lonely. But you know what? God, that's why God calls us, we have to rally. We were never, ever made to be self-sufficient. We were never created to go through hard times alone. God never calls us to do that. So there is support. I found a great site if you are struggling with cancer in any form. Called cancernowwhat.org. If you go to that site, cancernowwhat.org, or if you know someone who is spiritual, emotional, relational, doctor kind of support. But we could support one another too. At the end of today, if there is anyone here who is going through cancer or has it, I would love to get a couple of us guys to pray for you, and we will just meet over here at the end, okay? Yeah. Now here's Ben, our beautiful young worship leader who just has such a pure heart for God. I asked him to share a couple of things that God was doing in his heart recently. What?
I was just going to say, I didn't mention that my surgery was a success. 4 years ago. Wow. So I've been free for 4 years, and of course you get CT scans and blood tests. There's markers now in your blood that can detect cancer earlier than before. But they went in between here and they cut out the top lobe of my right lung. They did 9 biopsies in the area of lymph nodes, lymph glands, and they were all clear. So the oncologist freed me of any radiation or chemo. So that was a blessing, and things went just as we had all prayed for. I was only in the hospital on my back for a week, and of course lung surgery used to be they cut you open and you were there for months. So times have really changed, and I was certainly blessed.
I like it. Yeah, so my name is Ben. I'm super excited to kind of share my faith story with you. I'm an assistant worship leader here. You guys might recognize me. This morning I sing on stage on Sunday too. But I'm just excited to share my testimony, kind of heart towards worship. And for me, worship, there's 3 important factors that kind of keep me in check. And they play a big factor in my story, so I'm going to share those along with it. But yeah, just jump right in. I grew up in a small town up in Northern California called Lake Alamo. For those of you who don't know, that's near Chico, so kind of a mountain kid. My mom was a nurse and my dad was a worship leader up there, so I guess it kind of runs in the blood. And so from a very young age, I grew up in the church. I was there literally all the time, just like weekdays, weekends. And as a result, I was surrounded by a lot of godly people. I had a lot of godly influences. And so I learned who God was at a pretty young age. I think I accepted Christ when I was like 9 years old. Whether I knew completely what that meant, I'm not sure. But it wasn't until I was around 16 that I started to put my faith into action. So you guys know me from leading worship, but believe it or not, leading worship and singing and playing guitar did not come easy or did not come naturally to me at all. There was a lot of fear surrounding that, believe it or not. So I played in my high school youth band, junior high school youth band, and I was the 3rd string guitar player. Didn't sing. There was the first cool senior guy who was doing worship. There was a second guy, and there was me in the back, probably playing the wrong chords. I didn't even have a guitar plugged in because they wouldn't let me. And I was the worship leader's son, so I had a lot to live up to. But I was super nervous just to be up there with my guitar unplugged. I was nervous what people would think, and I just didn't think I could do it, but I was kind of just put in that spot. And for a couple years, I kind of just stayed there. And in high school, the cool worship leader, he goes off to college, and then it's the second guy's turn. He does his thing, he goes off to college. And all of a sudden, the youth pastor, his name was Paul. Paul came up to me, he's like, hey Ben, you kind of don't have anybody else, so you're up, kid. And at that point, I wasn't singing yet. I had gotten a little bit better at playing guitar, but I was so scared. Like, I didn't want to do it because there was tons of fear, and I just, one, I didn't think I could sing, I didn't think I would sound good, and I thought people would be judgmental, and so I'm going to say something that's kind of like, meant a lot to me, but Satan uses fear to stop us from reaching our godly potential. I want to say it one time. Satan uses fear to stop us from reaching our godly potential. I think that's like one of his #1 tactics, because my life is leading worship right now. I get up here every single Sunday, and that's what I'm probably going to be doing for the rest of my life, is leading worship. I'll keep on going with the story a little bit. So I reluctantly kind of said yes, and I said I would not sing. I said I would not sing. So the first couple times, it was me up there playing my guitar, and there was 3 or 4 female vocalists, and I would kind of just like say, okay, start now. And I would just let them try to lead it, and it was bad. Real bad. And so the youth pastor came up to me, and he said, yo, Ben, something has to change here, because this is not working. I think you need to sing. I think you need to like step up. And so this was kind of my come to faith moment, and a moment where I faced my fear, and it definitely changed the trajectory of my life. I prayed, I've been surrounded by tons of godly people, so I knew all the right answers, I knew how everything was supposed to work, but actually applying it to something different, right? So I think that was kind of the first time where I really applied it. I went and prayed, and I said, God, I feel like I'm against the wall. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm good enough, but I'm being asked to do it, and I did feel that there was something there. And so I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to give you my absolute best, even though I don't think it's near enough, and I'm going to trust that you're going to take it, and you're going to use it for glory. So the next week I sang, I did it, and it wasn't great, but it was different. I came in it with a different heart, I came with a different perspective, going like, instead of focusing on me, on I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I was focusing on God's going to do something amazing in this. He's going to work through me. And that perspective changed everything. And I guarantee I didn't sound good that first time, but I think my heart might have shown through a little bit more that time. And it might have changed some people, because people started to engage. And I don't know if you know new high schoolers and youth, sometimes they're kind of awkward. So it's kind of like an awkward situation in general, but that just kind of started it, and then it just kept on rolling and rolling and rolling, because as weeks went on, I started to get a little bit better, and the team started to grow, and then I started to fall in love with worship leading and leading people and just praising God. And through that, I started just to find out more of who God was, and it was just a really cool thing for me. Soon my dad invited me down to play on stage with him, and then I started leading some services, and then the church that I was leading up there asked me to take a Saturday night service, which was just an awesome deal. And then I went to college. I'm like, okay, well, that season of life is over. Cool, worship leading was fun. And I remember riding my bike up. I lived over on Newport Street off of Donna, and I rode my bike around everywhere. I rode my bike up the little hill. I didn't know this was a church up here. It was 3 years ago. I rode my bike up here. And I'd been church shopping. I'd been all over the other churches, just kind of trying to find my place. But I rode up to Mountainbrook, and it was at nighttime, and once I got here, I'm like, wow, I feel like this is the place for me. I hadn't gone to a service, hadn't done anything. I just kind of knew that, I feel like God has me here. So the next Sunday I went, I saw Sherilyn doing her thing on Sunday. And I was super intimidated again. One, I came from a church of 100 people, 150 people. So coming to Mountainbrook, I was way out of my waters. And so I was thinking, there's no way this is going to happen. A kid from a 100-person church, feel we got there. I was super intimidated. But I just went and talked to Sherilyn again, kind of going off the basis that Satan uses fear to stop us from reaching our godly potential. So I was saying, I'm not going to say do that. I'm afraid to do this. That probably means I'm going the right direction, right? And so I talked to Sherilyn, and the next week I was an intern. So it just kind of kept on rolling and rolling and rolling, and now 3 years later, I'm part-time staff. So God is good, and I do want to talk about just the 3 things in worship that's super important. But that's kind of a little snippet of my story. One second here. Yeah. So first one that's I kind of focus on these all the time. Leading every single week can be kind of difficult because how often do you guys come to church and sometimes you don't feel like it's so good. It doesn't happen every single week, you know? And so for me to get up on stage every single Sunday and to kind of give my heart and like to do this, I gotta have some like key principles. The first one is recognition, that I know that I can't worship God if I don't recognize who He is and what He's done for me. And I think that's the same for you. I think in the story of time that I recognized who God was when I was young and growing up, just being surrounded by godly people, I kind of learned who He was. I learned what He had done for me, and that He was, no matter what, worthy of praise, right? No matter what emotion I was feeling, what was going on around me, He was always going to be worthy of praise. And so, yeah, and that's, I'll get back to that in a second, but the second part is just surrender. There's a story of the rich ruler. He knew all the right answers. He went up to Jesus and he said, hey, I'm doing all these things right. What else do I need to do? Like, I'm trying so hard. Like, what's left? Like, I know all the answers, essentially. And Jesus said, sell your stuff and follow me. And what happened? The rich young ruler left.
Walked away.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't surrender that last part. And so God wants 100% of us. And oftentimes that looks like Him taking one piece at a time. And that one piece is so difficult, but surrendering is just such an important part to worship. And just another story that I'm thinking of is the first time I lifted my hands in worship, because if I was nervous to sing, maybe I was going to be nervous to lift my hands in worship. I was singing on a Sunday morning, and I was giving myself every reason, like, no, I don't want to lift my hands, I don't need to, that's just not who I am, I don't want to do it. But I felt God was telling me, like, man, you need to surrender this, and the reason you're not doing it, you want to do it, but the reason you're not doing it is because you're afraid of what people think. And that's stopping you from worshiping me completely right now. And so I'm pretty sure when I did it, I was like shaking. But I did it, and man, something broke when I did that, because I surrendered something that I didn't want to surrender, right? And so that's a huge part of worship, and that's a really difficult part of worship, because we all have something that we need to surrender, and that's never going to change, because we're supposed to give everything we have to God, right? And that last part is consistency, and this is the one that makes it so I can get up there every single week and lift my hands and sing as loud as I can and do what I do. And even if I don't necessarily feel like doing that, even if beforehand my wife and I get in a little bit of a fight, or if I'm having a hard week, or if something happens, if the emotion's not there, I can still give everything to God, because I know what He's done for me. I know who He is. That no matter what, I know He is worthy of praise. And so I like to just kind of end the challenge. I feel like this group right here kind of represents 4 guys at Mountainbrook. Would I be correct in saying that? Kind of at the breakfast. Going back to thinking that Satan uses fear to stop us from reaching our godly potential, I think if the men here at Mountainbrook were up front leading worship, because we can all be worship leaders. Yeah, worship leader isn't being up front singing. Worship leader is just being an example. I think if all of you were an example of worship, I think the church would follow in a crazy way. And believe me, Satan does not want that to happen. He's going to try everything he can to make that from happening, because he knows that if the men step up and we start leading worship, then other people are going to follow. And our vision here in Mountainbrook to change the world one life at a time, that's going to become more possible with strong leaders. And Satan doesn't want that to happen. So I'd encourage you guys to push past fear. And remember, when you're going into a fearful situation, if you're afraid to do it, you're oftentimes going the right direction. So that's what I got. Thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. That's awesome. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced fear. Okay, here it is. If you just be humble and let God know, He obviously knows, right? Do we have time? Do we have time for like one or two more little like 1 minute testimonies? Anyone want to share something that God has been doing in your life? How has He worked in your heart recently or the last few years or anything like that? Here we go, Easton.
Hello, my name is Easton Ramon, brother of O-Dog. Yeah, always Ramon. So last week, my dad and I went to a men's retreat. And I just want to share this with you guys, just because I found it to be something that was just so impactful from being there. We had a group, so there was different churches. There was over 300 men, all coming together to worship God. Some of them didn't believe, some people on fire. But it was awesome getting to see all these men come together and really just get to worship God, get to see lives change, the stories that happen in the middle of just like the services and stuff. I'll just share one quick story of just how God used men that were just willing to be used by Him. So there was a homeless man who just got a job as becoming a mechanic, and they were giving away like free stuff, so they were trying to get him just some flyers and tiny little things. But one of the other guys who just got saved that weekend came up and said, "Hey, I want to give you, my dad passed away last year. His dad was a mechanic for his entire life. And basically, his dad passed away and he said, I inherited all of them, and I want you to inherit all of them now." So he gave all of his dad's tools to this man who was just getting started on being able to like build his own life. And it was just incredible to see how God used just a new believer just to impact someone's life so that they can have a life where they're working and making a difference. But I just want to say that when we all come together and when we have all men together, there is so much power and so much ability for things to change in the church. And take things as an opportunity. Take this time at the church just to really come together as men and be able to lead. Because I thought when I left that place, there's no way that you could leave a weekend where you just got to be with such godly men and not be the same. So I just want to encourage you guys to really just make this men's group. It should be something that changes you and allow it to affect your life. That's what I just want to share with you.
One more, and I know I've given you zero time to prepare, but one more, anyone? Just a short, quick little word of encouragement for us? Exhortation, anything? Okay, come on, real quick. One of the things that I've learned over the last few years that God has done that's helped me grow spiritually is to literally invite the Lord into my darkness. So the places where I do have fear, where I do have doubts, where I do have greed, where I do have lust, where I do have any of that stuff, instead of me trying to hide it from God, which makes zero sense, I've now embraced the fact that He already knows it, He knew it before I was born, and now I just say, instead of just like some general prayer, God, would you come help me, strengthen me? I just say, God, would you come in? I know, would you come in? I know this is wrong. I have greed in my heart. Would you come into that place? And the more I just acknowledge that and let the Lord into that place, the more He can actually work in that place. And He brings His light in there, and He gets to work and He changes me, and all of a sudden my heart is changed. But feel free, like kind of like King David was, to let the Lord into all your heart, even those dark, hard spots. Okay, one more short testimony.
Thank you, Jay. My name is Ramon Baez. I spoke here probably a year ago at the men's breakfast. And one of the things I didn't talk about that day was I have 3 adult children, and I mentioned them, but I didn't mention the relationship with them. And between my wife and I have a son and a daughter, and my wife has a son. And her son and my daughter, we get along terrifically with. Well, my son, who's named after me, and his son is named after me, and I'm named after my father and his father and so on. So we're all Ramones. So we're not the rock group. So the point is, our relationship was a strength. We really never connected for the last several years, and there was various reasons why. But what I want to share with you as a praise report was he texted me last night. He said, my birthday's coming up, and I knew that. It was on June 22nd. Wouldn't it be great for you, Grandpa, me, and my son, the 4 of us, to go play golf? And I just want to give a praise report. So I've been praying about this for the longest time, and I just wanted to share with you. And my wife thought, this is taking so long with you and them. Is it ever going to happen? I said, you know, all I can do is continue to pray and continue to send him nice notes, and you know, someday the Lord will bless it. And that day was last night. So I just wanted to share that.
Amen.
Thank you, Ramon. So, one last thing, I'm going to call Sebastian up here. He has a serving opportunity. One of the things for our men group is we want to occasionally get involved as a group of guys and serve together. It's a really cool way to bond and all that kind of stuff. But before he does, remember the question, does faith have any feelings?
Yeah.
Who thinks yes?
Sure.
Okay, who thinks no? Okay, wow, that surprised me. I have no idea. but I think what I was going for, underneath our faith, underneath stepping out on faith, there's these underlying feelings. There's fear, there's doubt. I tried it one time and I had a really bad experience. There's all these things that come up when we want to step out in faith. But the word that God has is, you know what? If we do step out and we fail, it's all good. The everlasting love of Jesus has us. We're secure. You're secure in God. He has you. He will never let you go. So he was trying to teach you, lady, if you do step out, don't worry about it. It just doesn't matter. It's all good. Success or failure. And every man in here, we just said we all have fear. So we can learn, God's saying, you can learn to have a great feeling in stepping out with faith over time, instead of having like a negative feeling attached to it. Amen? But that's a growth process, and it's okay to take baby steps. I'm going to take a baby step of faith, and then we get this good emotion attached to it, and we grow, and then it gets funner and funner all the time. Okay, here's Sebastian with a Mountainbrook serving opportunity.
So I'm Sebastian. I'm the assistant children's director here at Mountainbrook. Some of you guys may know that we have our kids camp coming up, so we're going to be having about 425, 450 kids here, maybe even more. We're talking about possibly going up to 500 kids, so we'll see how that goes with the month left. So with that, with having so many kids, they all want to be outside, and we split them up. And outside, we want to have some games for them. So we're talking about building a God ball pit. If you guys don't know what that is, I have photos and stuff for you. We have like a volleyball foursquare. We have huge Jenga and stuff like that, and we need help building those things. So if you guys have power tools, or if you guys love working with your hands and you may not have those tools, I would love for you guys to sign up. I have a sign-up sheet and see who wants to come out and build those games with us. And I talked to our facilities manager, Eric, and we're actually going to be able to use that outside area on the other side of the windows where we usually have men's group. We're going to have it out there, and we're going to put up some easy ups, and we'll have like a little workshop out there. So even if you don't have tools, I can find something to have people bring some, and if you guys just want to come out and build some stuff, we would love for you guys to help out with that. And it's not just going to be for kids camp. We're not going to trash that. We're going to move it into the kids wing, or maybe give it to youth and stuff like that. So we'd love for you guys to come and help out with that. As well as during kids camp, we want to have a day or two where we get to serve the parents as well as the kids. So we have breakfast and stuff like that. We want to do a lunch with the families and the kids after kids camp. So maybe on a Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, we can serve them lunch. And talking with the kids camp team, we would love for the men's group to kind of host that and serve lunch and be there and serve in that way. And it also will be paid, so it won't be free for the families. It'll be a paid lunch for them. So yeah, along with that, with the building supplies and all that stuff, if you guys want to buy the wood and all that, we will reimburse you guys. So you guys don't need to pay anything. We just need you guys' time, and it'll be awesome for you guys to help out. I'll be here, and we're planning on that a week before kids camp, or if you want to get that done early, you can come by and drop that stuff off. If you have more questions, let me know. I'll be standing over there. You have to sign up sheet for the lunch, as well as the building the games and all that stuff. Yeah. Very much. Amen.
Amen.
We're going to close, but if you need prayer, especially if you're dealing with any kind of cancer, would you come on over? I'll be over in this information booth with Jerry if you would help me pray, and maybe David if you want to, or anyone else who just feels like they want to be a prayer, just come on over. We'd love to pray for you. And who would like to close us with a closing prayer of closing? Someone, come on, pray. We got to pray out here. Who's going to pray something?
God, I just thank you so much for this morning. We thank you for the time that you've given us to be here with our brothers, God, and be able to worship you and hear what you're doing through each other's lives and what you're speaking to us, God. We pray that today we can continue to see your glory and see your love throughout the city, God. I pray that you can use each and every person in this room, God, to show your love and show who you are and what you're doing. Father, we love you and we choose you this morning. Oh, this is your name.
I know that when cooks need some, you want your